Welcome back to Untangling Life. I'm your co-host Hattie Willis, and with me is the amazing...
It's just Andy, really.
Just Andy.
It's just Andy.
Just Andy. He just has an MBE, but it's just Andy. I love it. Okay. Actually, that's such a beautiful way into this. I didn't mean to drop your MBE as a segue, but I'm going to run with it.
Oh, dear.
I'm going to run with it.
Just introduced myself normally. We could have just got past
It's your own
this.
fault. No one else to blame but you.
We're talking about borrowed goals today. We're about to go to some street interviews. And when we get back, you're going to give me a hard time about this MBE.
Not a hard time, just to be clear. I think it's amazing. But we're going to talk about where goals come from, borrowed goals, what we admire. Let's go.
I went to university because my family expected me to.
Maybe following in the family business.
Andy, so many places we could take this. I want, I guess from my side, to make sure we touch on a few different aspects of borrowed goals. So I'm going to signpost us up front so I don't lose the thread.
I appreciate it.
And then listeners can write in when we completely forget to talk about something I've said we're going to talk about. So I want to explore borrowed goals from a few angles. I want to explore where do our borrowed goals come from, and particularly this idea of unconscious borrowed goals.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be bad that we're borrowing them. I then want to look at what are some signals that might tell us a goal isn't right for us. And then how do we pick our goals that are for us or adapt goals that we've seen other people achieve? Sound like a good structure?
It does. We can go in a lot of different directions. So I might need your help bringing me back on track.
We'll go on some lovely tangents.
Okay.
So, first things first, I want to go into what does borrowed goals mean to you?
I think borrowed goals are those ambitions that you have that may have been influenced by others. And it could be teachers, it could be friends, it could be parents, it could be society, it could be even someone that I've seen on social media. But it's like I've adopted the goal. I didn't just create that goal from scratch. So when you first said it just now, what came into mind actually, which I didn't expect, was where did I get this concept of marriage from? Like, I want to get married one day. And I had that view before my partner did, actually, in terms of like, I do want to be married. And I took it back a step and was like, okay, my parents were married. Yeah. So maybe seeing them and being in a household where they were married, where I had a lot of friends that came around who had single parent families, I did see a difference, and I did appreciate and cherish the fact that I had that privilege of having both parents in the household.
That makes me think, just briefly, of the idea of sometimes we make goals because we've seen something we admire.
Yeah.
So in your case, this lovely family unit.
Yeah.
And sometimes we set goals because we've had an absence of something, and we then almost, and sometimes we overcompensate, but we want to replace the thing that we didn't have. Because actually I think that is a big part. There'll be probably lots of people listening who really wanted marriage or want marriage, but they haven't grown up with that amazing model of it. Yeah.
And I think before I thought marriage was a beautiful thing to achieve, and probably parents, and I'm wrapping up in there, where I should probably separate it, but I'm talking about both almost like intertwined here. I probably thought it was the right thing to do from a religious perspective, from a biblical perspective, without maybe understanding the depth of what that experience is actually like. Yeah. You know, and I think a lot about morality in the same way, like, oh, don't kill, don't steal, it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And then over time, when you grow up, you're like, no, it's not only the right thing to do, actually, this is why I believe that I don't steal, I don't cheat, I don't X, Y, Z. And
I think we're starting to touch on this thread that so many goals, it's really hard to disentangle where they've come from because they've been socialized so long. Yeah. And so I think there is this whole point of, I think marriage is such a good one, actually, because I think a lot of our listeners will either be married themselves, or maybe they're in, we've actually got like the two ends of the couch, right? This is the division line of whether you have a partner. But I think the thing that a lot of people will resonate with is a sense of wanting, but then maybe a questioning of, well, why do I want it? Where did it come from? At what point was this given to me as a goal and an objective? And again, like, religion's going to play a huge part. Different cultures, being unmarried is seen as still quite shameful. Yeah. Lots of parental pressure on it. Not Absolutely. In my case, just to shout out. I'm not getting pressured into marriage. But I think there is a whole point around that idea of some of this comes very loudly.
Yeah.
You're hearing people tell you, you know that pressure is on you.
Especially that parental pressure, like as a rite of passage almost, like you have to get married. It's expected, it's the thing to do.
And also like some of the time that's coming from just a wanting you to have, you know, your parents might be desperate for you to get married because actually they're aware of like their own mortality and they want you to have a partner to take care of you, or they want you to have the partnership they loved, or they just believe in love. You know, again, these goals that we borrow, I want to kind of challenge the idea early that just because they've been given to us or just because someone is pushing them on us, it's not necessarily bad. It's just something we need to observe because it's not right for us.
Yeah. When you thought about borrowed goals, what came to mind for you, just out of interest?
I think a few things. I think I am someone who does set a lot of my goals by thinking about what will validate me. So if I think back to when I was 11, I got taken around Oxford and told, like, this is what you should be aiming for. And I went back as a kind of later teen, closer to applying, and was like, I love this, I want this. But there is still a part of me is like, I don't know if I'll ever know if I just was got early enough by my school to be told, like, this is what you should be wanting. And so it became this deeply entrenched sense of who I should be. And you and I have talked about it before, but this sense of like living up to potential. Yeah. And there's this beautiful point of telling someone their potential, but sometimes that almost corners them into thinking you're going to not realize your potential. I have a lot of friends and I who...
There's a lot of pressure there as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us do feel this sense of pressure to realize potential. If you know, validation is amazing, but if you're seeking it because you feel that you owe it to someone else or you owe it to yourself, I think it can it can be unhealthy. Yeah. And I definitely had so much of my sense of self tied up with, am I going to get into this university? And I got in and then I missed the grades I needed to go. Yeah. And because I'd done a different kind of sixth form education, I got my results like a month before the A-level kids. And so they told me you have to wait a month. And I think that month was one of the best things that ever happened to me. You couldn't have told me that on results day. My mum, funny fact, my mum on results day for my sixth form exams was in the other room. Like, it was across a corridor. They were big rooms. And she was like waiting with the other parents. We had to go in and get our results on our own. She was in the other room and they heard this like wail from the results room, and my mum went, oh no, that's mine. Like the mother always knows the cry of her child, even when they're 18. She was like, that's my child, who just audibly wailed. But it really genuinely, I at that point thought, if I can't go here, I've completely let myself down and let everything down. And I then
academically, I feel like a lot of listeners will relate to this, that the academic pressure to perform. Yeah. And I think there's a layer that sometimes can come from parents, but also even from schools or teachers or 100%. People that you don't want to let down. Yeah. And
I think there is this tricky thing of helping people realize, and I still remember, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, but I remember, you know, my dad makes such a beautiful thing of like, I could never be, actually my mum too, I have a card from her that says like, we could never be prouder of you. And this sense of like, what could you? What could I do? And actually that came from me completely, because they were always telling me like, we're proud of who you are. You don't need to perform
So what else do I need to tell you?
And I was like, but now, are you prouder of me now? Yeah. Like, and I used to test it and they were like, no, we're still as proud of you as we were before you achieved this thing. Like, we're really happy for you because you wanted it. But they really tried to make sure it's like, well, let's be happy that you achieved the thing you wanted, not you're not earning it.
And do you feel like that borrowed goal, you made it your own by... I don't know, choosing what subjects you want to study, choosing and having autonomy over that, your choices, rather than feeling like, oh no, I have to study these subjects. This is what my parents want me to study and I have to do well in that because this is what my parents and my teachers want me to do well in.
You know what's hilarious? So I nearly didn't study what I studied because my brother had studied it. And I was so fed up of being compared to my brother, not by my parents, they were great at it. But my school literally used to compare us all the time. Like, everyone at school would compare us. And often in comparison at school, it was like not always a favourable comparison to me, because my brother's just amazing. And so he had studied French and history. Yeah. And so I quite liked history. And I was really interested in it. And my history teacher was like, well, why aren't you thinking of studying it? And I said, oh, Ed did it. And he was like, that is the worst reason I've ever heard. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not a great reason actually, is it? He was like, that's outrageous. Like, why would you not do the thing you want to do because your brother did it? And I was like, yeah, you've got a point actually. But it was like an inverse borrowed goal.
But I like that because that's an example for me of like borrowed belief. Like, and it's a borrowed belief from that teacher in that moment, and then that belief became my belief. But 100%. In that moment, I did need that teacher to challenge me and make me think like, oh yeah. Like, why am I doing that? And we all have times in life where we need someone like that to play that role for us.
And actually, that same teacher had to pick me up other times. Like, I had another teacher who told me, you're not Oxford material. I got told I was like the worst application the school had ever seen at one point. My school was nice as well. I feel like I'm painting them cruelly. But like, I remember going into his class and he was so kind and really built me up and, no, you can do this. So I think... And it's something I guess we want to touch on, this borrowed belief thing, because it can again come from someone telling you you're capable of something you didn't believe. Yes. But it also comes from seeing someone maybe who looks like us, who we relate to, who has a similar background. Yes. And us going, oh, if they could do it, I could do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I love about this topic that we're discussing now is that teacher, it wasn't in their job description to have that conversation with you, encourage you and treat you in that way. They went above and beyond because of who they were. And I had a mentor called Mr. Mainu who sadly passed away, but he was like that person for me when I was leaving university, and he was working in a city, and I could ask him all my stupid questions. Like, what does this role mean? What does an auditor do? What does a management consultant do? Yeah. What is a strategy consultant? Are they one and the same? And he would never make me feel stupid or small for asking those questions. And then he would intentionally, and I realize this now, like ask me to come and meet him at like a private members club. And he's trying to expose me and normalize these settings and these environments to be like, you belong here, come dressed as you are, it's fine. And I look back and I'm like, that all of that was intentional. And then he introduced me to people that worked at Ernst & Young at the time, and that's where I got my first job. And it was because of his conversations and his introductions that I even believed like, oh my gosh, I like this career, I want to do this career, and I can do this. And if not for seeing him, I would think people like us don't do things like that.
I think that is such a beautiful example of where a borrowed goal can actually be, and it's almost... borrowed is almost the wrong word actually in that case. It's almost like a goal that's been handed to you, or a goal like it's inspired. It's now almost yours. This is for you. It's like a gifted goal.
I like that.
A gifted goal.
Trademark.
TM, Untangling Life. Yeah. So I think, and like massive. That. So Mr. Mainu. Mr. Mainu gets a shout out, and also Mr. Fellows on my side. I feel like I should name drop him. Great
Mr. Fellows, honestly, legend for doing that today.
So we've got this concept of borrowed goals. We take them from lots of places. Are there any other goals that you feel like? Can you remember any points where you borrowed a goal and then realized it didn't feel right? And I guess there's two ways you could realize a goal doesn't feel right, or three. One is you're completely wheel spinning on making it happen. So you've got this goal, but you're not really doing anything about it. It's not really motivating you. You're like, I'm aiming for this thing, but I'm not moving on it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's because we're actually too scared that we're not capable of the goal. So that can be a protection mechanism. But sometimes it's like, I just don't want this that much. Two is you achieve the goal and you feel very little. Or three is even as you're doing it, it conflicts with something at a values level that you think that you're feeling an active tug. Yeah. That, and that might be about, I think I should be wanting kids, but actually I'm really valuing freedom.
Ooh, yeah.
For instance, you're feeling this very clear tug between the goal that you should be having and the one you do have.
Yeah. I immediately thought about money.
Oh, interesting.
I just feel like my relationship with money over the years has definitely veered on both sides of the tracks, where like what's the reason that I want to make money? And I noticed that it's such a difference in my drive and my relationship with the money when there's a more purposeful goal at the end. Like, I want to save up in order to buy a new family home. That feels good. It motivates me, and I'm willing to sacrifice maybe a couple of nights out and a few subscriptions to save up for that goal. And actually, there's something in me that I just love saving for long-term goals and seeing them work. Like, oh my gosh, that took me 5 years, and wow, I love that I did that. Whereas the shorter term money stuff, which is more vanity, it never feels good.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot in the episode all about financial mindset, which came quite early. And I'm still in awe of your ability to see that far out and find that motive. I struggle with that. Actually, maybe that's another point about goals, is what length of goal.
Yeah.
Because I think some of us, what I'm hearing from you is it's almost easier to set that bigger, further out goal.
Yeah.
And motivate yourself to keep hitting it. How do you do that? Because I find that really hard. I can have a far out goal.
Yeah.
But it almost, if it's too far out, I don't know if it's the ADHD thing of it's either now or it's not now. We're very kind of time blind in that sense. But I find it really hard if there's no urgency around something. I find it really hard to motivate myself.
I think my problem is I don't want to feel like every year it's January, New Year's goals, and I reset and I start again and I'm setting goals again and I'm a brand new person again. I want to feel like I'm continuously building. And I've always loved long-term storytelling. Like when I've watched WWE growing up and you'd watch like a year-long story of like, I know this is wrestling.
Sorry, WWE is long-term storytelling?
Yeah, it is because you'd watch these characters go through these story arcs for a whole year to this grand event called WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
Which was like the big deal. But you go through the ebbs and flows across a year sometimes, 12 months to follow this story through. You know, for some people that was EastEnders. For other people, but people would watch that for years.
Yeah,
and Christmas was like a big thing in EastEnders when it was a Christmas episode.
Still livid my dad wouldn't let me watch the one with Jamie's car crash at Christmas. I was so mad.
You see, but there's something around these long-term stories that I've always admired, and I think maybe I'm thinking about that for myself. Like, what is my long-term story? What is my long arc? Like, how can I commit to a longer arc rather than every year feel like I'm starting from scratch? I didn't like that feeling.
I'm finding that easier as I get older. Have you always had that?
No, I agree with that. I think it must feel easier. Like, I feel like the mistake I made when I was younger, I think I touched on this in another episode of Success University and the multi-level marketing scheme. That was wrong on a values level and that felt bad and I had to stop it. You know, I don't know if I told a story as well about PIP. My friend, 8 friends of mine, and we saved money together to buy a property, and it didn't work out. Yeah. And when I look back, I'm like, that was actually a great idea. It was just wrong timing for them, so it didn't work. You know, so I don't kick myself, but I'm like, actually, that was a good goal. Yeah. I just wasn't in the right environment with the right people to achieve that goal.
And I think that's part of it actually with goals. We have to be willing to fail at them.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is with the older you get, the more you know yourself, the easier. Because one of the things I used to struggle with is I used to say in my career, I think this is often a goal people have as career progression. Yeah. And that could look like, I think it's often attached to promotion, salary, job title. Status, Definitely was for me. And I had this really clear idea of I want to be the youngest partner at the company. That felt like a really clear goal. Felt very measurable. Very achievable. I was being told you can do it. It met all the SMART goals. I was like, great. Yeah. But it actually wasn't something that would have motivated me past the day I got to write it on LinkedIn. Yeah. I could have felt great when the praise poured in, and then I'd have been doing a job I hated. Yeah. And it took me going traveling to realize that. I was really lucky. I got 6 weeks off kind of before moving into that path. Not to say I was going to get promoted on my return, but that was my path. Was that like a borrowed belief? You tried to tailor it for yourself, realised it didn't work, and then you kind of rejected it? Yeah, so I think work had a clear progression plan that they were trying to create for people like me. So there were a few of us who they put on the partner track, and they kind of said, right, you're associate partners now, we're going to invest in you, we're going to help you, this is what you would need to do personally to get there. Yeah. And the day that happened, it felt really motivating. Yeah, it feels like, wow, you've been picked for this special. Yeah, and I felt, wow, I'm really doing it. And I was really proud. And then it took, because I went away, I was meeting loads of new people and constantly telling them, what am I doing? And at the beginning of the trip, it was like this ego thing of like, oh yeah, I'm an associate partner. Yeah, it felt good to say, I'm a big deal, vibes. And which I wasn't. But that was how it felt. Yeah. And then towards the end of the trip, I realized the stuff I was talking about going back to, what my job was going to have to become in order to achieve that. I was like, in love with it. Well, not just in love with it. It was literally taking everything I loved about my job and getting rid of it, and taking everything I didn't love about my job and making it my job.
Yeah, but it felt like a probation period. Like you needed that space to chew on it, to mull on it, reflect, and decide, is this for you or not?
And actually, that was really helpful. And I think it sometimes with goals, it's giving ourselves that space to actually sense check this, to talk it through, to see how it feels. Because it was through that process that I realized this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I had that sense, that growing sense of, I'm not excited by this. Yeah. And in fact, I actually increasingly feel like, I'm trying to energize myself around something that doesn't feel energizing.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, again, how you know you've borrowed something.
That feeling.
Yeah. And another example, so then I went into kind of venture building, and that was really fun and new, and it allowed me to try something that can be different. I really enjoyed it. When I left that, I was thinking maybe I wanted to start a venture-backed company because I'd been in that space, right? So everything I'd been absorbing for 10 years was like, ventures are so cool, you want to be a unicorn.
This is good, by the way, because I wanted to get onto the concept of ideas and goals.
Yeah.
Like, how is it when you have all these ideas and it's like, I didn't achieve that, I didn't pursue that idea, that idea didn't work out. Do you see that in the same way in terms of like borrowed goals or goals that you're inheriting or adopting?
Yeah, like I think when I look at the goals that I haven't achieved, they've been the ones that I was never able to make mine. And so either I ended up dropping them by choice, which was the best outcome, or I slide dropped them because actually I just kind of shuffled them to the side and forgot about them.
Yeah.
I also have a load of goals that are mine, that I have set, that I was excited by, I just don't have time for. Yeah. But they're not actually, turns out, goals that motivate me enough. I'm excited by them, but I'm not actually going to make them happen.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess it comes back to what you were sharing there in terms of what drains your energy and what brings you energy. And sometimes it's not just the goal, but it's also the way you go about and achieving the goal.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I'm really big at the moment on, like, I actually just want to live and maintain. I just want to maintain my lifestyle, maintain my income. I'm not trying to shoot for 1 million. But in doing that, I recognize that, like, maintenance isn't a sexy goal. Like, people don't find that interesting. People don't write about that.
I think people would even go so far as to say, is that a goal? If you're just keeping the same thing, we don't see that as I would say most people wouldn't even count that.
Yeah, but I think what drives me is how I'm doing it.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not picking up any bits of work that I can. I'm not trying to do work that I hate. I'm actually trying to stay in alignment of doing the things that I love while maintaining this lifestyle and this income.
I love that. So with that maintenance goal, how would you articulate it? Is there stuff, when you're setting that as a goal, is it I want to do more of these things within that? So is it I want to work work more with Hattie? I want to join Guessworks as a partner, speak into existence.
Wow, we're speaking so much into existence right now.
It's going to happen.
But
is it that vibe?
I love the way how she smiles.
I'm going to lend a goal. I'm going to gift a goal, Andy.
Thank you for your gift. Your goal. I appreciate this gift.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doesn't serve me in any way. It's actually one of my goals is to gift you that goal.
So it starts with like, right, financially, how much do I need to earn, which is enough?
Yeah.
And I think we spoke about this in the money episode, but I feel like I know what enough is for me. And let's say it was 5K a month, which is not. But let's say it's 5K a month.
I know what it is. It's not.
Let's say it's 5K a month and how I want to make that up. Maybe 50% of the work that I want to do is entrepreneur facing, and I want to do it with Guessworks and with Hattie and be a partner and build this amazing company that does things.
I think that's a great idea, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you. You can vote on that too.
Yeah. Upvoted, please.
And then maybe 50% of my work, I actually want to just be creative and write books and like express myself in different ways. But I don't have to worry too much financially about that because I know the awesome work that I'm doing with Guesswork gets me to achieve my 5K a month. Yeah. And that's the way I like to think about it, because I don't want to put pressure on the creative work that I just want to express myself. I even see this podcast in that way as well. Like we're not doing this to monetize or to become #1 streamers. We're doing this as an art of expression of ourselves. And then obviously the content that comes from it is super useful because it all shows different sides of who we are, and I see that portfolio of things as I need these things to work together in order for me to achieve this goal of maintaining.
I love that. And I think that's such a good... And I think we keep coming back to this idea of energy, almost. Yeah. This setting as a good way to set goals or as a way to interrogate goals. So maybe let's spend a little bit of time looking at... Because I think we've talked about where do we often borrow goals from. We've talked about education. We've talked about mentors. We've talked about family.
Can I interrupt and add one more to talk about? When we're gifting goals to others, like just now in this conversation, you're gifting me, a goal with guessworks, and it made me think about my daughter.
Yeah.
And like, how far am I going on this spectrum of influencing her? Like, Ara, you're really good at dancing. You should become a dancer, and then am I saying I'm noticing how good you are at this thing? You should keep on feeding your curiosity.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a line there where I need to be careful as a parent in how much am I almost like dictating what path she needs to go down versus encouraging her because I can see something there.
And I'm not saying you're doing this, just to be clear. But also, I think the tricky thing I can imagine about parenting as a non-parent is that so much of that happens so unconsciously on both sides.
100%.
So you and I talked when we were recording the first ever episode. You showed me what you've been teaching Aria for freestyle dance, because you used to love freestyle dance as well. And so I can also imagine that this is this great way to have like daddy-daughter time, where actually like she's getting a lot of your attention. She gets plenty of your attention. I'm not saying this is rare, but actually I can see as well that it would be really easy to just bond with your child on something that you love, and then you're reinforcing like, hey, if you do more of this thing, you get more.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a minefield, but obviously that's also really natural. Like, if I have kids, 100% would want to spend more time doing the things I also enjoy.
But then I need to be careful.
In mini-me.
Because I love Man U and football.
Yeah.
Yes, I do support Man U. Then suddenly, am I making sure that all of my children need to play football because this is what I like?
Yeah.
Versus, actually, she would have been really great at netball and hockey, but I didn't play those sports, so I'm not encouraging that.
And actually, it's an interesting point about like gender roles as well. I think women's football has done so much in this space. I love that lots of people are now.
Yeah. I'm actually spending time with the Women's Football League today.
Are you?
Funny enough, yeah.
Have you heard this trend, which is that we don't call women's football women's football? We call it football, and we call the other one men's football. Just to, reset.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This is a new trend.
I didn't know that.
So if you're talking about Man U, you'd say, the men's football team.
Oh.
But if you're talking about Man U women's team, you'd say Man U football.
Man U. I like that. I didn't know that.
But actually, it's all these little things that tell us.
Yeah.
But it would be really easy to gender stereotype your kids and say, I'm going to do this with you, and I'm going to do this with you.
Yeah.
And
even going to watch a game.
Yeah.
Am I going to watch the men's game? Am I going to watch the Women's Super League?
100%.
And it all adds up.
It's so true. It's so true. And often, I think when you hear these amazing... I'm currently watching Drive to Survive. I'm very late to the party. I appreciate it.
Very late, but so good.
Yeah.
I envy you. So good.
I cried already.
It's cry worthy.
And one of the reasons I cried was there was a... It's not a spoiler because all these races have happened, but there's one guy who's...
crash?
No,
Okay.
I haven't got to the crash. Andrew, don't spoil it. There's actually been loads of crashes, but I haven't got to the crash.
Okay.
But there's a race where Leclerc is racing in Monaco, which is his hometown, and it talks a lot about his dad and how much this meant to his dad, and like the whole last lap, he's talking. They're like interchanging with an interview about he suddenly, for the first time in any race, just can't stop being getting emotional, talk about it. It was so beautiful, and it was this real sense of like aligned goals. Like he really wants this, but it has like another level of meaning for him.
Yeah.
And I think again,
you want him to win Monaco, don't you? Yeah.
When I that whole,
I don't think I breathed. I
don't think I breathed for that last few laps. Just in Drive to Survive, you don't see all the laps, so imagine watching the real thing.
Yeah.
But I think there is this beautiful thing of actually sometimes one of our goals meaning something to someone else. Like it does sweeten it. It does make it more meaningful. But you're right, it's super hard to know how to not inadvertently project our goals onto someone else, and I think that is where we all have to have this responsibility of how am I interrogating and teach. Maybe this is the point. Maybe we can't fully change what we unconsciously signal to kids, to people we're mentoring, to teams that we're building or managing, but we actually can start to equip them with the skills to set their own goals. And we do this in corporate teams all the time, right? Let's set your OKRs, let's set your KPIs, let's set your SMART goals, whichever your organization loves to use. But I don't think we're actually teaching people what does the organization want to measure. We're not teaching people to actually interrogate where's that beautiful alignment between what you genuinely want and would mean something to you and what needs to be true in this environment for that to work.
And I think there's something there around core values. Like your parents saying, like, I'm proud of you regardless of what you do, and reminding you that again and again and again, you're more than enough. You can be whatever you put your mind to. All of these little things sound like that, little sayings. But actually, when it gets ingrained and it sets and you start going to your core and start remembering those things in times of need, it does help.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
And also being given permission. I still remember...
It gives permission, yeah.
Yeah, and I still remember going to my dad the first ever time. I've definitely told the story before, but I genuinely think it's like just such great parenting. I just want to share and share and share. But the first time I ever got a job offer, like a proper, like, full-time job, I went to my dad and said, what do you think? And he was so great because he was super... He got an amazing balance between being, like, effusive. So he was like, A, it just sounds great, like, well done. You've built this relationship and that's why you've got it. And I think this is why it sounds great. And this, but he was like, but also the point of your first job is not to get it right. It's to learn.
That's so good.
I know. And I think it helped that his career, he's done, I love this idea actually. Someone else I interviewed on Not My First Guest, Zoe Pedden, talks about acts of your life. We've now got the Next Act program we're working on for people in their 50s who are looking at the next act that you and I are working on together. But I love this idea of acts. And I can see in my dad's life these different acts, right? He was studying to be a lawyer. He met my mum. She converted him to Christianity. He then became a vicar, career change, mid-degree. He then is a vicar. He then becomes a charity fundraiser. He then starts doing funerals freelance. And I can see all these threads between the different acts of his life. But what he was...
But even with those examples, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Don't forget your trail of thought.
I will, but it's fine.
I feel like when you just told that story about your dad's different acts, that rather than him being intentional about setting goals and achieving goals, he was just actually feeding his curiosity. And I'm almost seeing it on the same spectrum in a way. Like your dad fed his curiosity and led him from law to, is it vicarage?
Yeah.
And then from vicarage into... And I just felt like he's just feeding the things that feel right to him and are interested and he's curious about.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there were mini goals within that or if he just continued to just...
100%. And I think... And he was really great at sharing that. So I remember... when he first started doing funerals, his kind of latest career transition, and I remember him telling us, I probably was an adult in my like 20s. Yeah, he did it after my mum died, so I must have been in like mid to late 20s. And I remember him saying to me and my brother, so this is how many funerals I need to do a month for it to financially work. This is why I think I'm going to do it. And it was this really... Wow. It was so helpful because it was this really clear sense of like, being brought into this goal setting.
Did he achieve that, by the way? Did he get to those numbers?
He smashed it out of the park.
Wow.
And he was doing, I mean,
it's just being intentional.
This is a bit sad, but it was also, he did do it not very long before COVID, and COVID did massively increase the local death rate. So there was a lot more business, which was very sad, but he did do very well on his goals. But there was also this, I guess, purpose goal. Like everything he did, he wanted to study law because he really believed in justice. And then he moved into wanting to be a vicar because he became so convinced by the resurrection story, having not believed it, that he then wanted to share it. Yeah. And he's very, I would say he's actually very unevangelical in the sense he's very comfortable with, he's very... I think he's quite comfortable with my loss of faith, and he's very gracious with it. I don't ever feel judged by that. But it obviously meant something to him to go and share this story. He had a real mission there. And then with the charity fundraising, he found causes he really cared about and really wanted to make a change on. And then with funerals... I
like this language use of missions.
Yeah.
It's like it's more than a goal.
Yeah. And I think with the funeral side of things, I've definitely... And maybe you'll relate, but I've been through quite a share of have had quite a share of funerals where I've been like very close to the planning of it, and they're really hard to do right because often you've got someone who really wants one thing, someone else who really wants a different thing, and you've got it. And actually, I used to hear him on funeral calls. Because his house is quite open plan, so he would like sit on the landing at his desk, and if I was sat down at his house, I could hear him. And without fail, every time I did that, I found it so moving, because every time I thought this was exactly what I needed when I lost my mum. Like it wouldn't have been appropriate for him to do my mum's funeral, but I was thinking, God, I really wish this was my experience, because actually and so for him, and I told him that a lot, but I think that was a big part of his mission. And he had seen, obviously, he'd been doing funerals for a long time before my mum died, because he'd been a vicar for a long time. But I think he also did see that experience for my brother and I. And I think, I suspect that probably did make a part of the mission of wanting to give this experience to people. So I think again, we get goals from different places and they build. But yeah, he's been such an inspiration. And then, he had this big goal for a long time. For a long time, he said he wanted to move to France.
I thought you were going to say that.
And then I suppose we had no idea where this is coming from. Like, everyone's always like, "Oh, is he like French family?"
It's like the other ones where it says, like, where did this come from?
I honestly, I don't get it. Like, he doesn't even love cheese. Sorry, that's not the reason to move to France. He doesn't love cheese that much. But and actually, that was really important to him. And he found a partner who that was important to. And they, and he then has worked towards that as a goal so clearly with her. And I can see how he's
across a number of years.
Oh, across 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and there was a long kind of physical calendar in his house.
Wow.
That was building up to moving day, and was so excited by it. But it was his goal.
Yeah.
It was a real clear.
Yeah.
That was not borrowed.
Yeah, and that's inspiring as well, isn't it? Like seeing that long-term
100%.
tenure to a goal. Do you ever feel like with your dad's story, I thought it's so authentic. It felt like, oh, this is so, what's his name?
Jeffrey.
It's so authentically Jeffrey.
It's very Jeffrey.
It's so Jeffrey. But then are there goals that you've ever had where you look back and you're like, that wasn't authentically Hattie, that wasn't really me? Like the partner one was a good example of that.
The partner one was one, wanting to start a venture-backed business.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know me.
No, I feel like all of us had a period where we would have gone down that path. It was like the thing to do.
And I think venture-backed businesses, people who aren't in that space, they just require such an intensity of building.
Yeah.
And such a singular, not singular, but quite a singular focus on that being your life.
Yep.
And that is very un-me.
It's a massive time.
It doesn't, for those who know me, that doesn't tally with how I like to work and how I want to be. So that was I think a really clear one. I think an interesting one that is very live for me right now is the kids thing, because I know I want kids, obviously, and I've done in lots of ways a lot to try and achieve that goal, including kind of restarting the kind of hunt for a partner, but that sounds quite
hunt. Yeah, I did think
I'd like to take that back.
Hunting,
if I'm currently dating you,
please, there's no traps, there's no nets, there's no spears.
Please skip that part.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The search.
Yeah. The search.
The quest.
The quest. I love quests. Ooh,
adventure. Yeah.
The quest. I'm reading a book about Arthurian legends, so I love quests. The quest for a partner. So it is clearly a goal in the long term, but I think I'm finding quite conflicting is I am 32, and so my friends are going on this quite. I've got 3 godsons who I'm obsessed with. In case anyone has not come across this, follow me for 2 seconds and you'll find out.
You see obsessed. Pictures everywhere.
But I somehow have this really real sense that though it's definitely something I want, it's not, my timeline is not now. Even if I had, married the last guy I was with, I'm not at the point where that's my next moment. I want it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
A few years' time.
As your next act.
Yeah.
Not this act.
Exactly. And I feel like there is this tension between when you want the same goal as other people, feeling like you should be mirroring their timeline for getting it. And I do sometimes wonder, I'll look at my friends' kids and be thinking, should I be wanting this right now?
Yeah.
They're all not all, but loads of them are going. And does that feel like that? Oh, another one's gone. Oh, okay.
Oh, but I think we can all live like that, isn't it? Oh, should I have had kids sooner?
Yeah.
Should I have had kids later?
Yeah.
There's no perfect time, isn't it?
No, but I think it's a big part of the when we borrow goals.
Yeah.
Even when it's the right goal and we're not borrowing the goal. I have really interrogated, do I just want kids because I've been socialized into it?
Yeah.
I've been told.
I think that's the work. The fact that you've interrogated, the fact that you thought about it, reflected, similar to your earlier career decisions, I think that's the work to know that you're tailoring a goal to make your own, or you're disregarding it because you've done the thinking.
And I think there's a lot of goals that we pick up, and I got really challenged on it, like the goal of kids being something where it's like, it's so romanticized, right? There are these goals that are romanticized. Marriage was a great example at the beginning. And actually, I think the good thing is, like, I've seen, you know, I love my friends. Listen, one of our greatest listeners is one of my dear friends, mother of one of my godsons, and you know, they will say very openly, like, they're not sleeping, and she's like, I'm not functioning, because how can I? I'm like completely sleep deprived, and I look at it and I go, yeah, like that doesn't look fun. Like, there are bits of it that look really fun. Like, don't get me wrong, but I do think, do I really, and I have moments where I'm like, do I really want this? Because it's a reality. I'm suddenly seeing the real, you know, there's like a lot of poo. They throw up on you, which, as we know, I don't love to be thrown up on. They, you know, they're kind of gross. Like, they're very snotty. They, like, loads of them can't even wipe their own noses.
In a way, you know too much. It's like ignorance is bliss.
But it's still a goal. And I think actually there's power in that of, like, have I just set this as a goal but completely... and that was what was happening with the partner thing. I'd romanticised it without actually looking down the
barrel.
And gone, what does this really look like? What does this really mean? Am I willing... And actually that brings me back around to a question, I guess it's helpful. What am I willing to sacrifice for this goal? When I've engaged with the reality of it, not just when it's this like nice thing. Do you have any examples for you that have been, you mentioned like on the money side, like actually that's helpful to think about, will I sacrifice subscriptions? Are there any other examples for you where you've either got rid of a goal because you realised you weren't willing to sacrifice for it? Or where it's required a big sacrifice?
Two stories came immediately to mind. The first is in 2015, I was in San Francisco. I had a 10-year visa. I could have lived and built my life in the US and just worked in tech and venture capital. And my friend at the time, who I wanted to be with, I invited her to the US and she didn't come out, and I came back and I didn't look back. So I sacrificed, if you like, that career, earning potential. I didn't even think about the earning potential. It was more like just being in the epicenter of entrepreneurship to come back to London. And I look back, always the right choice. I've never regretted it or thought about it. It's just coming up because we're having this conversation.
And even as you're saying that, as someone who knows you, like before you'd even finished telling the story, I'm grinning because I'm like, well, of course you'd come back for Lynette. She's great. Like, you nailed
exactly. Well, it worked out. If it didn't work out, I mean, maybe I would have been back out there. Who knows?
And actually, that is a point. Like, you can, I think we over-attach these goals and we forget we can rebound from them if they don't go right. 100%.
I think that's an important point, actually. Like being willing to fail, but also knowing that you can rebound and build and get back up. And that's the reality. That's the truth.
I can start a company, but then actually if that fails, maybe I just get a job.
It's a great example of business building, exactly. When you're talking about actually all of the analogies about children and they poo, and I thought actually being like, a lot of people wouldn't have started a company if they knew it was how all-consuming it is to build a venture-backed
And that
business.
is the tricky thing with kids, is you can't
undo that.
You can't undo it.
And the second story that I want to share very quickly was that a lot of people are surprised when I say that I'm not afraid to go and work at a company. And I'm willing to do that in aid of a goal. Hopefully it's work that's really aligned with the things that I like doing. But I'm not one of these purists, like I have to be my own boss, I have to be an entrepreneur. I just love solving problems and doing that with other people. And if that means joining a company to do that, I'm willing to do that. And I think that surprises people because I've been entrepreneuring for so long. Like 100%. how could you like reintegrate into a company? You're unemployable in a way now. So unemployable. I don't fit into a category or into a role very neatly. But in order to achieve a certain goal or the house renovation, or I would do it if I had to. I wouldn't put my family at jeopardy or their lifestyle.
And I actually think that's a key point, is that we often hear that spoken into existence and we speak it into existence. I'm unemployable now is something I hear so many times from founders. I think it's true. And I think we are telling each other it too much. Okay, so we need to start wrapping up. So I'm just going to check. We've checked all the boxes I promised at the beginning.
Okay, there's a lot of boxes.
So we talked about the fact that a lot of goals we borrow unconsciously, and some of those could be positive goals, like Mr. Menu bring you into places,
and Mr.
Fellows telling me I could get there. Some of it is unconscious and doesn't work for us, and that's often attached to kind of more vanity goals of a title, something that I can shout about.
Yeah.
And
becoming a partner at a firm, by the way, it wasn't the marital sense.
Yeah, but actually the marital thing, I think actually for a lot of people,
could be,
I want to be a wife. I often see this on dating shows, side note. I see this all the time on like Love is Blind, It's I want to be a wife. I want to get engaged. It's not I want to have a happy marriage.
Yeah.
It's not I want to be a loving partner. It's still like this sense of like I want a rock on my finger and I want to reach this like life milestone, which I get completely because you do feel a pressure on it.
Yeah. There's a means to an end.
Exactly. And so we've got all of those kind of goals. We've explored how that often leads with borrowed goals to things that we can pick up on, that wheel spinning, that sense of I achieve it but it doesn't mean anything, or that sense of actually I feel this real tug-of-war going on constantly. So as we wrap up, let's maybe talk about what we can do to do a bit of a sieve of goals to work out what is ours and isn't ours. And then I think the final part I just want to touch on at the end is this idea of, I think when we get gifted goals, how do we make them our own? So I'm still customizing it, it's still mine. And I think one thing I love is this idea of the invisibility test. So if your goal came true but no one else could know about it, would it still be a goal?
I love that.
I think it's so strong. And for me, actually filters out a load of goals.
Yeah.
Because I can look at a real example actually right now. I now have 2 people I work with closely who have MBEs. And so I'm like, should I try and get an MBE? Is that a thing I should be aspiring to? Like, I admire you, I admire LJ, actually 3. Another person I work with at Virgin Startup, amazing. All 3 people I really admire, really rate their work. I'm like, should that be the goal?
I don't think it was a goal for any of the 3.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a goal for any of the 3. But actually,
I understand it being surrounded by
But if I filter it, I go, actually, the MBE isn't the goal. They're doing work I admire them for because they're proud of it and it's work that I think is meaningful. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So that invisibility test, I think, is really important.
Lovely.
Energy test.
Yeah.
Is this draining my energy trying to even work out how to get started? Is it sapping my energy trying to achieve it? I think is another really good test.
Or actually, is it just neutral and balanced and it's just something I get on with, but it doesn't bring or drain my energy?
And how do I feel when I'm getting milestones along it? Does it feel... Do I feel anything?
Does it fulfill me?
And then I think just moving on to that kind of final point to close off of how do we customize? So if we've done a bit of a sift and you think, okay, I've unpacked where this has come from. I'm comfortable that maybe some of it's still a bit unconscious, but I'm comfortable broadly that I do want to be shooting for this thing, whether that's short or long-term goal. We touched on that a bit as well. How do you go about making... So let's take the Mr. Manu example.
Yeah.
You know, you've been shown all these...
You really like that example,
I love it. You know, you've been welcomed into all these spaces. He helped you get a job at EY.
Yeah.
But you're not still at EY.
No.
So how did you customize those goals that you were getting kindly gifted? Because I think that's the best example of actually someone who was really trying to model for you, you can be this thing. Because often when we don't see something, we don't believe we can be it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an important one, actually. If you don't see it, definitely don't believe you can be it. And 2 things came to mind when you just shared that prompt. The first is the power of visualizations, like visualizing what it would be like to achieve that goal and what it would feel like. And I think that picture gets updated all the time once you're in reality, like on the road to achieving that goal. So I can have a vision of what it would be like to work at EY, but actually once I start working there, I have to update my vision and ask myself, does that fit with what I thought it was going to be? Is it better or is it worse? You know, is it draining? Is it giving me energy? What parts of this are actually what I thought it was going to be? Is it living up to what I thought it would feel like being in this position? So I think visualization is one thing that's important, and the feedback loop is visualizing how it will feel like versus how it actually feels like. I
love that so much. And I think the one thing I want to add into that is that sense of when you visualize it, is it a day or is it a life? So is what you're visualizing the day, or maybe a better way, is it the day to day or is it a day?
Yeah.
So is what you're visualizing actually that moment where you update your LinkedIn? Is it the moment someone, you know,
Interesting.
or is it actually in your day-to-day? I feel, you know, when you described your maintenance goal, what you described was actually very day-to-day.
Yeah.
You know, that could be measured on any day when you've achieved it, and it would look similar. You're feeling creative.
Yeah.
You're feeling
You can
fulfilled
almost
in
do
your
your
work.
ideal day from like when you wake up to when you go to bed, isn't it? And feel like, how does that become a more regular feature in my life rather than just an exercise?
I love that. Beautiful. We need to wrap up. Any final journaling prompts?
I think that's good, actually. I think that's some meaty ones there at the end. Yeah, I feel there's a lot to untangle there as it is.
Yeah. So tell us how you go. I would love to know if any goals get updated or changed. And we'd also, as ever, love to hear. We have a newsletter. So after every show, we will share a newsletter. It will always include these journaling prompts. So if you want to be reminded after you've listened or even before you've had the episode sometimes, sign up to that. Well, there's a link always in the show notes.
Yeah.
But also do reply, like tell us how you get on. We want to know. We want this to be a conversation.
Yeah, and we'd love to have some guest contributors sharing your stories and what's worked for you.
100%.
So yeah, please do write in.